Ben, please unmute your mic.
Yes, thank you for having me, and good morning to honorable members in the studio.
Right. So, what do you know? Is the ECG being untruthful to Ghanaians?
Yeah, I think it's been explained time and again that, this is not a situation where you can actually hide the truth. And when the power goes out, everybody experiences it. Beyond that, the people who are working across the industry, majority of them, you can say 99% of them are Ghanaians. All right, so at every level, there is information flow, and we can see what is happening in the system. And to the extent that people would deliberately shift the burden or the actual situation to different events, it's quite intriguing, and we struggle to appreciate what is actually happening in the system. We do know that there is a generation shortfall, and everybody in the power sector is trying to run away from that fact. Nobody wants to communicate that we have a generation shortfall, which is accounting for load being shared. And I don't understand why that struggle. On the ECG side, we have a contract with ECG. Every consumer has a contract with ECG, not Gridco, not VRA, not IPPs. They are supposed to give us power and provide power for, in most cases, what we have paid for, because we're using prepayment meters. And they have to deliver. There is no excuse telling us that, it is Gridco to blame, it is IPP to blame. You have to give us power, and Gridco also has been quiet all this while, though they are the system operators, and they know that for over almost 3 months now, there have been deficits, and that deficit has to be communicated, and ECG wouldn't be the one to communicate it. They should communicate to the public that there is deficit. They also have the duty to let the country know that we are experiencing, generation shortfall, and therefore we cannot give to ECG what will be optimal for them to serve the country with. But for everybody to be quiet and try to massage the obvious truth, it's incredible, really, to appreciate.
On the 11th of March, this is what the ECG said. It said that it had noticed that 630 distribution transformers within communities across their operational areas have been identified to be full to capacity due to increased demand. This situation may result in blown fuses and broken conductors, causing outages, especially during the peak load period, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. in the affected areas. We wish, however, to assure our customers that transformer upgrading and new projects are ongoing to relieve these customers, these transformers, to ensure a more reliable power supply. Customers within those areas and communities should therefore report any localized outages or voltage fluctuations to the ECG call center, and they provided numbers. Is this a situation you say they can provide a load shedding, a timetable on for the affected areas?
No, if transformers are overloaded, you change them. You can switch them around. So if you have a competent brief of what your operational area is, if my area is overloaded and another area is underutilized, you can switch the transformers. And these are incidences that you can actually tell the consumer ahead of time, that we know that these specific areas we're experiencing overloading, and then you move in to technically assess. If you don't have transformers in your warehouse, you then need to see how you can move some of the transformers around to be able to meet the load. Because if assuming that they are correct, that there is power and they cannot distribute, that is even terrible, because the power has to be paid for once it's generated. And if you have power energizing the transmission infrastructure and the distribution company cannot distribute because of these challenges and inability to smartly move around transformers and get things done, then we are losing much more money, in that respect. But again, we are told by POO, which is the utility union, that they have so many transformers that are across the entire operational area of ECG, and 630 wouldn't be enough to actually, help make us experience the kind of Dumsor that we are seeing around. So, what these technical people are actually saying is that the load shedding that we're experiencing cannot solely be attributed to the so-called overloading of transformers that we are seeing across ECG's operational area. So it comes back to that conversation. Even if you have those challenges, how much of the load shedding that we are seeing is affected by the obvious, generation shortfall that we have, which is not being communicated to us. But we do know that on the average, we're shedding 300, sometimes even 600 megawatts, and we have to cut all the exports to be able to meet, the demand in country. So those are, for me, the significant issues that we have to address. And we are seeing 2012 actually replaying, where we started not communicating what the actual problem was. When gas was not flowing, we thought we could turn on the turbines in Akosombo just to make sure that there is power when we needed to manage the flow of the water. Some of the power plants that could use liquid fuel were just run for a longer period of time. They missed maintenance schedules, and then the problem kept escalating and compounding. We want to avoid that kind of situation. So let's communicate the truth now and begin to address them and manage the situation so that we don't compel the system to stretch itself beyond what it actually can. What Gridco is actually doing is not the most optimal thing to do, where they're just constantly monitoring, the demand pattern and shutting down the feeders when ECG is not acting to actually schedule the load. It's not appropriate. I mean, if the engineers slip at any time, then some feeders can cause a lot of problems in localities, and the system can actually even collapse.
All right.
If they not continuously. So we need to have a proper plan.
Right.
And that's
right. Dr. Donko, I'll come back to you. But Ben, why are we demanding now that there should be a timetable when, as the ECG explained in complying with the orders of the PURC, that it said that the practice over the years for transformer injection works is to send notices on planned maintenance to customers. ECG does not give notices for individual transformer injections. Upon issuance of notices for planned maintenance, ECG goes ahead to carry out substation maintenance works, underground cable faults, fault repairs, overhead line fault repairs, damaged pole replacement, transformer injection, etc. Why is it that this time we are saying that they shouldn't do what they have been known to do over the years?
I think I'm not a lawyer, but the ignorance of the law is even not funny at all at this point, where PURC's regulation actually stipulates that before you take my light for planned maintenance, you should let me know 3 days ahead of time. So it's not, I don't even need to know what transformer it is. You just need to tell me that I wouldn't have lights because you're going to take my light 3 days ahead of time. So for ECG to now explain why they cannot tell the consumer that they have a scheduled maintenance and they need to replace an equipment, it's really sins against the law.
No, that they have said. They've given notice of that. But it is about what is being called for a load shedding timetable. I think that is different from informing the public that we are going to do this work. That one they have told us, right?
No, I think so. If you look at the directive from PURC, they were very specific. They said, give us the location of all the transformers that are overloading.
Yes.
All right, the transformers that are having problems, including the GPS coordinates of those transformers, so people can know where they fall, and that helps to inform the customer what challenges are localized so that they can expect some of these problems. And that is part of enforcing, the regulation and the law. And if you are not doing that, then you're actually violating the law because you know the 630 transformers that you say are overloaded. So let the people know so that when my light goes off, I can just go and see if there's ECG worker working there on the transformer or something is being done on the transformer. They have refused to do that. And that's where the problem really is. Wow. You need to let the public know if you're going to take their light. If you can't control it because you know that the transformers are overloaded, it tells you that my light can go off anytime. And therefore, having that information also helps me to plan. Not knowing when the light will go off, but I know that at least there's a problem with my transformer and I need to expect that the light will go off at some point. And those who don't have that problem also know that when their light goes off, they cannot be attributed to the transformer being faulty. So that kind of information has to go out to the consumer and let the consumer know.
Thank you very much. And